What did he just say? Whoa, Eggman, holy. This game is rated E for everyone. You can't just go around saying things like that. Good God. But we come to the second battle between Tails and Eggman, and this time your opponent will have an extra attack. He will shoot missiles out of his back, and he'll have a giant fuck you laser that he usually shoots at you when you hit him 3 times. The best way to dodge that is to jump, move just to the right, be very close to your opponent, move to the right, and hover, and you'll generally dodge.
No! I can't lose to Tails!
Alrighty folks, the big final battle between Sonic and Shadow. You are all both running on this platform that is actually falling apart the more you go on it. So like if you stand around for too long, the platforms do fall down and you will fall to your death in outer space. So you have to keep moving, definitely. There's a gigantic trail of rings everywhere, so it's not like you'll run out of rings anytime soon. The more you hit Sonic or Shadow, their attack patterns get a little bit more advanced, let's say. Like, for the first 3 hits, you can spin dash into Shadow, no problem. But after those first 3 hits, he starts wising up, and then you try spin dashing into him, and he jumps over it now. So the last 2 hits, he's at his hardest point in the last 2 hits, but what I always do, I stop moving for a little bit, Shadow will start using his Chaos Spear to attack you with, and you can easily outrun it with a dash attack, or a homing attack, then you just hit Shadow.
I am the ultimate light.
Game over, Shadow!
Welcome to part 13.
What have you done to Sonic? I'll never forgive you for this!
What have you done to Sonic? I'll never forgive you for this. It's time for Eggman to win this time, Fox Boy. Once again, watch out for the bomb in the middle, and watch out for Tails' big fuck you laser by hovering to the left or right of him and getting close when he's about to fire. One thing I actually haven't mentioned before is that Eggman and Tails have a close-up attack, and Eggman actually uses a boxing glove to punch his opponents with. It's pretty awesome, actually, and it reminds me so much of the Joker. It's so wacky. But ha! In your face, Fox Boy!
Alright, Shadow. Time to finish this.
Despite the fact that Sonic does not have Chaos powers, the boss fight pretty much remains exactly the same as it did when you were Sonic. Sonic will use Sonic Wind if you're trailing behind too much. He does warp ahead of you if you speed it right past him with his own fake Chaos Emerald, using Chaos Control, just like Shadow did. And it's essentially the same fight. I never really had a problem with this fight. I'm not sure about you guys, but I enjoy it. As long as you just like do the weight technique that I always like to do, where your opponent shoots Sonic Wind or Chaos Spear, and then you just jump ahead, hit him while he's standing there, and...
I failed. I told you I'm the ultimate.
Alrighty, folks. Now it's time to take on the hardest boss in the game by far, the Bio Lizard. This is the prototype of the ultimate life form, and the ultimate life form is indeed Shadow, and this is indeed the creature that was in Rouge's report from earlier. But this is not the true ultimate life form. Shadow is indeed the ultimate life form. This is the prototype. How the fuck is this the prototype? How do you go from big fucking slug monster to a black hedgehog with jet skates? It makes no sense to me. One of these things is not like the other, but I digress. The reason this boss is one of the hardest, it has the biggest, it has the most varied attacks. It has a very dangerous surrounding, like a very dangerous environment, and I don't know why. I remember the first time I played this when I was 10 years younger than I am now. I just died on this guy a lot. I don't know why. The first time I ever took on Bio Lizard, I must have been 40 minutes on this boss. literally like 40 minutes, and I just kept going like, why can't I beat this guy? The thing that makes him a little bit hard is you have to attack him by destroying that reactor thing. And you only get to do that when he gets tired after doing a whole bunch of these electric attacks, like these electric ball attacks. And he always shoots the electric balls in two different heights. He'll send one along the ground, and he'll send one just slightly above the ground. And what happens there is, if the ball of electricity is along the ground, you have to jump over it, because you can't somersault under it. And if it's above the ground, well then you have to somersault under it. And that'll trip you up, because you gotta be really paying attention to all the electric attacks that the Bio-Lizard is sending at you. And the more you hit Bio-Lizard, the more his attack strategy gets a little bit harder. Like, he starts shooting these electric balls now, and soon we're not going to be grinding on his neck tube things to get to the core on his back, you know? Like, soon there's going to be, like, these pink bubbles that you need to homing attack to climb higher and higher up in the sky and homing attack the core from up there. And, you know, the pink energy balls that he's shooting right now, actually, he's actually shooting some at you, as well as you homing attacking on them to get higher up to the core. So, it's a little bit tricky, I'm not going to lie. I had my issues. Another thing that's really awkward is that constantly, before the electric balls are happening, Bio-Lizard is actually chasing you. If he rams you with his head, he'll damage you. But if you go too far, you'll run into his tail, and his tail will actually start chasing you. So, like, you can't run super fast in this segment. You have to run just slow enough that you don't run into his tail, and you're still running from his head, or you don't run into his head, you're just running from his tail, you know? And, one last thing, because this area is shaped like a Pokeball, there is a water stream that can send you flinging down the water pathway to an instant death if you land in the water. So you gotta constantly jump over the water stream as well. There's a lot of variables to this boss fight, and see, if I stayed in the water, I might have died there. But there's a lot of variables to this boss fight, and I remember when I was 13 years old, goddamn was this boss fight hard. It was long, it was complicated, there's so many variables to it, and yeah. I'm having trouble just with these things for some fucking reason. This is a little bit cliche that, yeah, go figure, Shadow. Maria wanted you to save humanity because she was a nice girl. You remembered her as a nice girl. Hell, some of your flashbacks were pretty much like, what do you think it's like on Earth, Shadow? Just saying, Shadow. Do you think Maria wanted you to kill all these humans? I don't think so. It's a good thing you remembered that, eh? But, you know. Now Shadow's on the good side now, because he realizes that Maria doesn't want humanity to be fucked. Professor Gerald is doing something horribly wrong, or has done something horribly wrong, because, well, Professor Gerald is dead at this point. And one thing I didn't mention in part 14, I'm sure someone in the comments already did, but the scene where Professor Gerald is declaring his death threat to all humanity, there's all these writing on the wall behind him. If you remember earlier, when Sonic was arrested and he was in Prison Island, he was in a jail cell with a whole bunch of writing on the wall. He was actually in Professor Gerald's old jail cell. It all comes full circle. The story has its snafus, and it's not the best story in the series, but I really do enjoy the cutscenes for what they are, and the little callbacks you get from rewatching scenes.
Get out! Ugh, prototype!
Aloha everybody, welcome to part 16, the final part of Sonic Adventure 2, and we are now taking on the final hazard with Super Sonic and Super Shadow. So yeah, we have to destroy the red swelling areas, which are totally not tumors. And every time you attack the Bio-Lizard, or the final hazard, whatever you want to call him, his attack pattern gets a lot more crazier and crazier and crazier. He starts off pretty unexposed, just shooting these random lasers at you. And then after a while, the lasers stay for a long, continuous beam. It's not just shooting lasers at you. And then he starts shooting more lasers, and it gets more barriers. And this fight gets pretty intense.
Sonic, raise entry. The colony will enter the atmosphere in about 4 minutes.
Oh yes, and there is a 5-minute time limit. If you do not beat this boss in 5 minutes, that counts as the space colony destroying the Earth, and it is technically game over. No, there's no cutscene for this. It just, like, the screen gets all red, and then it just cuts to, like, the restart of the level, you know? There's no scene of the planet getting shattered into pieces. So admittedly, this boss fight can actually go real quick if you're real good at it and real fast about it. Like, he's only 2 hits away and I win. Oh wait, now he's only 1 hit away and I win. And this is the entirety of the boss fight. It's not like Perfect Chaos where there's a second part to this fight. Like, this is it. If I hit him one more time, this fight is over. And obviously he gets more crazier and crazier and crazier, but yeah. In terms of the movement, Sonic and Shadow accelerate higher and go lower. You push the jump button and you go higher. You push the attack button and you go lower. And if you're running out of rings and you want to regain your rings, what you have to do is you have to pass right by the Bio Lizard so that you can switch to your other character. Like, for example, Shadow here, he doesn't have too many rings left, so I'm going to go across to the other side and try and tag Sonic in. That way, Shadow collects rings, I go in with Sonic, all is well in the world.
Shadow, your power is getting weaker. Hey, are you okay?
Also, I'm actually prolonging the boss fight because I wanted to get some of the voice clips that Sonic and Shadow say to each other during this fight. The upcoming scene has a sacrifice, let's say, and the dialogue here is really great between Sonic and Shadow. It really builds towards Shadow's character greatly. Very greatly. Goddamn, this theme we're listening to right now is Live and Learn by Crush 40. Crush 40 also did Open Your Heart in the original Sonic Adventure. And we'll hear this real main theme in full detail in an extra video. But this theme is so heart-pumping. It's awesome to fight Final Hazard too. Shadow clearly hasn't used the super form as much as Sonic has. He doesn't seem to understand that he's burning himself out. God damn it, Shadow. You're the ultimate life form, but dial it back a little. Anyway, I'm getting a minute away till the Earth is destroyed, so I think I'd best end this now. Booyah!